Hello.
We're Three of Cups Entertainment. I'm Laura Hypnosis.
Donica.
Sherry.
Hi.
We know there's a lot going on in the world today, so we wanted to come on here and talk to you all about how to navigate energy when it's coming at you from the global perspective. Like global energies can be intense.
Should we stay neutral? Should we say something? Should we ask our best friends what they're thinking so we are not falling off the group?
Right.
Should we listen to our intuition? Or it's like we have a bad day, just let's, get it out there in the digital world. What are we going to do with that?
I mean, this came up because I struggle with, I think we're all struggling. Anybody who's sensitive or intuitive or relatively awake is just struggling with the day-to-day energies that are out there.
It's
right?
wondering what's going on.
What's going on. It almost feels like an energetic flu at times, right? And and as much as I try super hard to remain focused on my work, focused on my friends, focused on my family, I get caught up in the fear that's going out.
And the polarization. That's you can kind of feel in between. It's like these are the bad people, these are the good people, and you need to choose right away where you belong. And if you don't want to belong, that's even worse, right? So it's like, okay, what now? So most people are like, well, I'm from Europe, that doesn't concern me. These Americans, they're their own thing. But actually, it's globally, like Laura said. So it is everywhere.
Right. I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is it's hard because as an energy practitioner and the way my views are of the world and the universe is that everything starts from love. Like creation is love. Everything is love. And so my brain is like, if love isn't it isn't questioned, it's a given. To witness people in a polarized state where they think they're separate from others, they're not in that loving state, they're in a rejection state, they're pushing things away because, well, there can be multiple components at play, survival being a big one, like seeing something as a threat to your own way of life or your own way of existing, living freely. Like, yes, it can be a hard one to work with. But I think there comes to be a point where we have to recognize our own personal practices and recognizing connection. How are we all connected? How are we all on the same page? Even if we're seeing signs of that sense of separation going on around us. Like the energies at play is like following energy all around us. I think you got to bring it in as much as you can to what's immediately around you. Kind of filter out in whatever means possible to be connected to the people in front of you rather than worrying about all the expansion that's around.
Right. But for me, I think the challenge comes in how much of that is, there's proactivity, right? Yeah. So focusing on my work, focusing on helping my clients, focusing on their alignment in their work so they can be proactive in the world is super important. And then I'll come across people who are telling me, oh, let's just all love each other and not worry about it, which sends me over the edge. It's a huge trigger because I will acknowledge, we were talking about this, that I'm first generation Holocaust survivor. So my father was killed in Auschwitz. My mother was in hiding. For 2 years they were in hiding. So it's this balance between what you're saying and what I believe in. Absolutely. Right, overall, and then how much is passivity, and passivity is also an energy. Right. So watching it's that famous, it's actually Elie Wiesel, I'm not sure, but no, it's actually an older philosopher, but it's when they came for my neighbor, I didn't think anything, and then they came for this person, I didn't came, and they came for the transgender, and I thought, well, that's not me, and then they came for the DEI, well, that's not me, and then they came for, and so there's like, okay, and then they came for me, right? So that happens to all of us, and so when I hear people like going, oh, I just want everybody to be happy. It's just like, well, it's easy for you to say because you're white and you're, of a different.
But then the separation is happening, what you were saying to Laura. And this is actually, I think it's very thoughtful. Whoever, if you believe in these conspiracy theories and stuff like that, that someone is kind of leading that, it's doing an amazing job. We are constantly dividing ourselves.
That is true. Right? That is true.
So we are aware of that and how we go back to this balance place. I really liked it when we were discussing it before we started shooting the video, between being neutral and being balanced. right?
Mm-hmm.
Because being neutral and not saying anything is agreeing to what's going on
That's
too.
true.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like navigating that at the same time, you know, especially as energy workers and, you know, people in the solopreneurship ship, we're kind of in another level of all this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think historically our role was to observe, balance, heal everything what's going on, but we're in that world too. So like how we navigate that? Like for example, you, Laura, what do you do when it's like, what's your point about this? And what do you think about this? And I'm sorry, I hit the microphone. And like how do you balance yourself back to like, okay, this is my work, I think globally, but I will actually work and act locally with what I can offer.
Right. Well, for me, especially in my early 20s, I recognized a lot of interests I had with looking at larger and larger issues, like, again, national issues, global issues. Again, like there's so many dynamics, like wanting to protect the land, wanting to protect the earth, wanting to protect the people. And I used to get completely overwhelmed, not only just with that conceptually, but the fact is, like, as an energy worker, as an extra sensitive, I was inviting all of those energies into my energetic bubble as well. And that's when I would get overwhelmed. And that's when I couldn't do anything at all. I would basically be frozen.
You'd freeze.
So in response to that, I had to learn how, like, okay, what do I actually have the power to work on right here, right now, the present moment, be here now. And that brought me closer and closer to the present moment. It brought me closer and closer to the people, places, things that are in my immediate surroundings that I can be proactive with, that I can have influence on, that I can work with. Because if I personally get to focus on things that are outside of that, it does overwhelm me, and it keeps me focused on things that I just can't do anything about.
Well, if we look at it from an energetic conversation also, right, is that if we're focused on everything outside of us, then you can't actually focus on anything to make things happen, for sure.
Absolutely.
And so I think that in many ways, you know, I'm always focused on how is work in alignment with meaning, right? So that for me, I think our work as energy workers, healers, psychics, mediums becomes more important. I also want to say that I think we also want to be careful about spiritual bypassing again, right? That conversation, because it's like, you know, love will take care of all of us. I love you, and what I think is right will actually work out for you too. And I'm like, not really. We definitely have different
And
belief systems.
let's agree, it's uncomfortable being around this energy. It's ugly. There is the language is brutal. It's very passive aggressive. It's hitting all the trauma buttons that we're trying to heal off. It's like literally brings all to the surface. So we don't want to be in it. It is, if you are active in what's going on recently, you will be like 100% into some kind of oh Jesus, all my traumas are like the way this person talks to me, the way they're expressed, that reminds me of this. And it's like, so nobody wants to be in this. Yes, it doesn't have to. But what's scary, like I read it as you can say it, like don't be like, oh yeah, butterflies, because it's actually affecting you as you speak, as you see it, as you sleep.
Or using we all, I think that my strongest gift is channeling. And so I think we channel entities that are aligned with us, right? And so I'm channeling entities that are saying what I think is right, and they're really happy that it's coming through me. And you may channel entities that think you're right. So I just really want to emphasize, they're just advisors.
That's right. We are the creators.
That's right. So we can, it's just like sitting across from somebody and them saying, well, in my opinion, I think you should do this. So just because it comes from an outside source that has a different worldview and has a different perspective doesn't make it the law, doesn't make it right for everybody. And so I think that when I finally lost it a little bit this past week, it was when somebody said, I've channeled the angels and they've told me this is the way it should be.
And I was thinking, okay, but there is no time frame. Of course,
That's
everything at the end, whatever end means to everyone, everything will be fine because,
I guess we died.
Yes, so she's not off of it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no time frame of like, oh yeah, the situation will be great and America will be great again, or whatever you want to put it in the language. But it's just because I'm doing this crisis communication certification, and I'm like just reading and like reminding myself of stuff that I was learning before. I was like, we constantly are in crisis communication. Like the past couple of years, there is constant danger, constant natural disaster, conflicts, there is financial. Every single coach is actually helping you through a crisis communication. I want a better job. I want a better communication and clarity. We are in constant crisis communication. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Interesting, you were called to it, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually backing up what I'm saying about pay attention to what is calling to you right now. And that really spoke loudly to you, and you followed that path.
And I was wondering, why on earth crisis
Right.
communication? And one of the assessments was like, just check what the crises in your region are, and just that's part of the assessment. And I just did St. Pete.
That's good. St. Pete, when you think about it, like locally speaking, it's like St. Pete is it's a small landmass with a lot of people.
Yeah.
There
a lot of different people.
A
I
lot
was
of
actually going to bring that up too.
Right.
Yeah, because we do figure out a way to live with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
We do.
nicely so far.
I have to say, because I came from Northern California, which I thought was the most liberal place on the planet, and it turned out it was the most liberal, angry place. It's like still angry, still, So I was thinking like about St. Pete. Now, I'm sorry,
It comes that-
it's just that there's this weird blending.
Because it's
kinda
that
works.
love that Laura was speaking of. There is
Yeah.
such a concentration of these loving beings, and that constant reminder, focus on that what you can do, focus on the love energy. And this comes very healthy way. It's like, it's a hug. Like, what? I'm concerned about this. And like, yeah, but if I give you a hug, everything will quiet down, and then everything will somehow, and it happens.
Well,
Right?
my head is lighting up right now, and I can't tell if it's because I disagree with you or because
Well, feel free to disagree.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what they're saying.
But I think that's angriness that you mentioned is healing through that love that you are mentioning. So I think that's why St. Pete is so unique, because we are California and we are very southern too, and that love and hippie, if you want to put a label in, which I don't like, but this love consciousness, it's coming through whatever works. So it's very interesting to be in it.
Yeah.
And I want to point out that even though, like, I'm speaking of recognizing all things are love, I think there is a balance of understanding, like what you've pointed out before, passivity, acceptance, and love. For me, love is accepting things as they are, because like present moment is all I have the capacity to control. Right here, things might not be perfect, but I accept that these are what are unfolding. What do I do now to create the next step forward? So in the love, in the acceptance, someone can come to me and I'll hold space if I'm sovereign too. Like, so I have to check in with myself and make sure that I have the capacity to hold space.
I like that word.
But not understanding how, when someone is angry, or someone is feeling hurt, someone's feeling distraught, they're feeling a sense of separation and the world is coming at them. If they come to me, I'm not going to like dissuade them their reality, because that is what they are experiencing.
In the moment.
It's like, this is what, okay, what can we do now? Sometimes someone might just need to vent. They just need to share it and get it off their chest, and then they feel free, they feel lighter from the past circumstances, so that they can be here now.
That's true.
And especially with my work with hypnosis, one of the reasons why I specialize in past life regression is that time and time again, people are coming forth and being influenced in the present moment by their past.
Yes,
absolutely.
They're not letting go of the past.
Yep.
They didn't process it fully. So my regards to it all, I'm not about spiritual bypassing. I'm not about love, it's all great and it's all fun. It's fine. It's fine. No, I understand everybody's going to have their own unique perception of what conflict is, or what type of pressure they're feeling in their reality. But if we can just acknowledge it, accept, okay, this is where it's at. What do you feel in control of right now, though? What are you working with in front of you? What feels aligned with you?
And using the trigger, using the trigger of whatever's triggering you. That God knows. I mean, I have to say that it's sort of reawoken. And I thought I'd really done a lot of healing around the ancestral trauma stuff around the Holocaust, and yet here it is.
Yeah.
Right. And so
It's coming out.
I'm actually watching myself. I'm like, okay, this isn't Nazi Germany. But at the same time,
There's
looks
a resemblance
there's a
coming,
resemblance.
yeah.
So it's
And historically,
and it's not the first time, right? And so it's more of having a consciousness of where my ancestral lineage wounding is and where I am now and what I am empowered to do, and but also allowing myself to be triggered.
Yeah.
And allowing myself to see what the trigger is and what still needs to be healed inside of me.
I think
Absolutely.
Right.
that's
Trigger's not a bad word in my
Exactly,
vocabulary.
exactly. So
It's an opportunity to
it's
learn.
an opportunity to
I
learn.
love that.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's sit with this.
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's and this is and I think I really do believe if we look at it at a global energetic conversation, what this current administration is doing is bringing up everything that was sort of rotting anyways, right? And so we're being forced to look at our opinions about how we hold others. We're looking at how we hold different belief systems. We're looking at human rights. We're looking at, I don't think that's, I mean, who knows? I mean, I know a lot of the people in our world who are pro that administration do feel that that is one of the purposes.
Well, it
Right.
comes to that triggering, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that we're
actually
supposed to
okay.
be
I want to be
awoken.
triggered so I can heal it. So I kind of
Yes.
understand
It's
that.
awakening. It's before we were going along, and it's like, yeah, we know it sucks. Yeah, we know this, but now we're being forced to look at it.
Yeah. It's like if you have a gaping wound and
Yes.
throw a band-aid on it. It's
Exactly.
like I can keep going to work, I can keep functioning, and then it's like, well, the band-aid's off. What are you actually gonna do?
And it turns out
Yeah.
it's infected.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to actually look at it. We actually need to work with it, like help heal it.
That's true.
fully.
Yeah.
So we're all experiencing a lot of mass
trigger.
Mass
Yeah,
trigger.
that's true. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's one mass trigger,
Yeah.
and for both sides, for the
Exactly.
all sides. And that's-
liberal, for
yeah.
the conservative, for the.
I like
I
that.
like to believe that in the core, we all want the same thing. I really
Yes.
do believe that. Like, I really do
Yes.
believe people who are afraid of certain people have a reason why they're afraid. And it could be their own sexual trauma from the past. It
But
could be,
they work with a shortcut. I think that's what's
interesting.
happening. It's like, oh, shortcut, just let everybody out because I'm triggered because okay. But shortcut doesn't work.
I like
Right.
that.
It is time to get the bandage off.
Right. There's lots of layers to this. And
Am I flashing?
no, I was just checking. Make sure we're good.
We're not checking her out.
You can check my t-shirt. It's from a local vendor from the Sunday market.
Oh, that's right.
We'll list
Beautiful.
it below.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
That
But-
is a beautiful shirt.
Yeah.
I want to say too, it's like regardless of politics, just life itself can be a lot to navigate. Life
Oh, hell yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And so, regardless of where you're at, no matter if you are in Florida, in America, in Canada, in Europe, China, who knows where you are in
Bulgaria.
the world, you're a human being. You are a human being.
Yeah.
And so, what you are navigating, the universe, I would say, or the world at large, is giving you the opportunity. Like, yes, you can feel everything around you because we're all connected. But at the same time, give yourself permission to come back in, to take care of you, to hone in and tune into yourself so that you can navigate your own energies, because that's where the power is. That's what you have the power to work with, so that you can be the best version of yourself in your life. And then that can create a sort of domino effect and influence the people
like
around
that.
you and keeps
I like
going
that.
out now and
Agreed.
out.
I think there's never been a time. There's never been a time where it's more important to really take care of yourself. And that doesn't mean isolate or not pay attention. It just means self-care, because there's so much coming at us that it's more important than ever that we figure out, like, whether it's a hot bath at night or whether it's an extra slice of pizza or whatever, whatever floats your boat.
Platonic
Yeah.
cuddles.
Platonic cuddles.
Exactly.
Making music.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking when you, Laura, were talking was, it's like, again, this fear and concern conversation we had. How much of this is fear something is going to happen, because we all three are moms. And to be honest, I always think, okay, I might handle it for now, but what's going on for my children? It's like you literally make the path for them with acting, not acting, or, and how much is fear, how much is concern, right? So I go back to that thinking. It's like, okay, don't get like, like one friend of ours say, and you're not able to express, right? Don't go into the freeze. But just like, okay, just let's again let me be triggered and figure out, is it fear, is it concern, and what's my next step?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because fear is valid. I know we've talked about this before, but just to reiterate for this video, it's like fear is trying to serve us. It's a part of our survival mechanisms within us. It is going to, it's the exclamation point coming online, trying to prevent a negative outcome from emerging.
But it's a projection, right?
It is a projection.
So let's not forget
yes,
this part.
Absolutely. So at that point, you can recognize like, oh, that fear is there, but what am I actually working with in front of me, so that we can, ease the sense of fear, not let the fear dictate our choices or drive the steering wheel of life. Because when you're reacting out of fear, you'll see the results of that, but that's not always going to feel good.
And I'm going to just go on that one also, which is that I do think it's important for us to be clear on when we want to take action.
Yes.
And when we want to sit back.
Yes.
So I think we're going to be called to action more and more, and it can, how you choose to react will be uniquely your decision, whether it's protesting in the streets or writing a letter or supporting your neighbor
or choosing a work that's actually influenced
choosing
that.
Work that will influence it. Exactly. That I think I don't want to lose my activist nature, because by nature I am an activist. I want to make sure that my activism is exactly what you're saying, though, that it's grounded, that it's thought through, that it's I don't want to say it's not violent, because I'm not sure how far I'd go, to be really
if
honest.
It feels aligned,
we'll take care of her.
That thing, just act out of a state of alignment. If it feels aligned with you, not necessarily
not coming from a trauma, but trauma informed versus trauma react. Right?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
write that down.
Well,
repeat it.
Can you repeat so it's trauma informed, not trauma reactive.
Yes.
I like that.
So it's saying, this is the trauma of my family, of my historical, it's very valid. And am I going after that person from a reactive state, or am I going after that person? Is it working? Red. Then take that one off. This one's still working.
Okay. Technicalities.
It's okay.
But also, these measurements still apply when we're thinking about like what's going on in your home life, even
everything.
Like, everything.
Absolutely.
It's like if you're having a conversation with a family member and they just triggered you and you don't know what to do. Sometimes, like obviously, like in the trigger, there might be a type of reaction you want to do. You want to call them names. Maybe you want to slap them across the face. Who knows what the trigger is going to make you or want you to react with. But when you can kind of separate for a moment, and that I would say is healthy separation. In the moment, take space for yourself, to remove yourself just a bit, to collect what your feelings are, to tune into yourself, to then know how do you want to more appropriately respond to the people around you.
And then your response and your activism is actually more likely to create the change that you seek.
Yes.
Right.
And even if you write it down, or I do emails, I never send them, but when you write it down, it's actually in that energy field. So it's actually you are acting on it.
Yes,
right? So even if it's not, it doesn't have to be actively going to the person and there is like a passive aggressive dialogue. I'm saying, because you said family and stuff like that, so I'm always thinking about that. And I wrote a lot of letters that are just sitting in my draft, and but it's actually it's out of me, that's held for me, and it's actually in the universe to take care of it and kind of compost it or whatever needs to be. So I truly believe in some subconscious level, I'm doing what I need to do in that particular moment because I'm overwhelmed in this moment to be like, hey, stop it.
Right. And that's giving you an outlet to do the processing. You're having a safe you're creating a container for yourself to be able to process the feelings, to process what's going on, so that again your reaction, or it's not a reaction, it's a proper response. And that's the difference. It's like we have to know where our safe containers are, our safe places to go for that regulation, for that processing to happen. To know where you have those avenues available to you is a key component to showing up in the world the way you want to.
And I really feel like that's where having good therapists, having good coaches, having good guides, having good mentors, having, I always make sure I have a good collective of people who are neutral and have my best interests at heart, and who can listen to me without projecting their opinion unless I ask for it. So I feel like this is going to be an ongoing conversation, clearly, I think, for many years to come. we want to welcome you to come to the Psychic Social Club.
Yes, our next meeting is going to be Monday, February 10th
right.
at 6:30 at Roots to Crown.
Mhm.
And for this gathering, we're excited to bring on a previous guest who's been on our YouTube channel before, Joy Bliss Bless. He will be our guest speaker at this gathering to talk about how he uses music for manifestation.
And also to maintain vibratory health.
Exactly.
We could call it vibrational health.
Well-being is important.
Yeah,
That's true.
really important.
That's true. And for us to heal the world, we need to start
with ourselves.
So I think that's very important. So come heal together.
Yes, I love that.
And follow us on social media, Tree of Cups Entertainment,
and
Facebook,
subscribe
YouTube.
to our YouTube channel.
Please.
Yeah,
Like this video, hit the bell for notifications. For
Send
when
it
we
to
post a
friends
video.
and say, "Oh, these cool kids are talking about interesting stuff, and they're so diverse." And let us know if you like it. We like it, so we continue doing so. But you can express your opinion.
Absolutely. Drop a comment down below if you have your own tips that you'd love to share with how people can regulate their energy during such polarizing global times.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you all.
Love being with you, ladies.
Love being with you. Hopefully everything is check.
Hopefully.
Sounds good.
Recorded.
Yeah.
So
Right.
see you Monday.
Bye.
Parking on the street first north.
Oh yeah, that was good.